Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I've got a really fun video. I have not talked about Darkwing Blast for a minute, and I'm getting very excited. Next week we're going to start, actually like literally tomorrow, we're going to start the actual like content creator reveals. We're going to get the final TCG exclusives probably by the end of next week, which is really exciting. But I still want to make this video prior to that just because like I really haven't talked about Darkwing Blast in a minute. But here's what we're doing today. Today I am going through pretty much everything in the entire set, pretty much, aside from like a couple of one-off cards that are just kind of like filler for the set that I don't think will matter any way, shape, or form. But we're going to go through new archetypes the set has and talk about how those are going to come out and play and how good they are. We're going to talk about support for archetypes that already exist and how much that support helps those decks and where they end up after that. As well as brand new, maybe like more generic cards that could see play in a myriad of different decks and how those could apply kind of across the board and just generally how good they are. I think this is a good set overall. I don't think I necessarily put it above Power of the Elements because Power of the Elements like feels like it's started this whole format, and then it feels like this stuff is going to kind of latch onto the format. Definitely going to have some stuff stick in there. It's just not going to like, I don't know, take over the format, I would say. Maybe not until next set with the new Kshatriya stuff. But yeah, really cool stuff. Let's just get into it. We have a ton of stuff to get through. I'm not going to spend too much time. Not going to go too deep in on every single thing here, but just enough to hopefully give you guys an idea of where I land on it. So starting off, we have the new Bisted archetype. This is an archetype full of pretty much like DD Crows on legs. Not just legs, thick, meaty legs, okay? These guys are like all 2,500. They banish a lighter dark from your opponent's grave as a quick effect to summon themselves. And yeah, they're insane. These cards are really good, and they also give you a bonus effect on top of that. This archetype seems like it was kind of made just to kind of balance the tier limits. Which is good. I like it. I like this because not only is it strong, but it also like particularly has like a specific matchup for something that's already arguably a problem, but probably inarguably the best deck in the game. It's very cool. Next up, I think it'll be, I don't think it'll be a pure deck, by the way. I think it'll be splashed as like a small engine in a couple of different decks, but just because they kind of function as hand traps, they function as going second cards, but also like, you know, they're fine to see going first as well. And help you versus the hardest, you know, the strongest deck in the format. Next up, we have Kshatriya. Again, kind of similar thing. This is a new archetype, but it doesn't play on its own, really. Like, maybe there's a hard-going second strategy, like a Gren Maju-esque build where you play cards like these, but I think more so it'll just be generically splashed. These cards are crazy. They say if you control no monster, they jump on the board, they're big, and they offer cool effects that not only search you other cards in their archetype, but then just have like quick effects to just like banish face-up stuff on your opponent's field, face down, which is insane. Really, really strong. There's a couple of them. I think there's only 2 monsters that are going to be super relevant for this upcoming format, but we're going to get more stuff in Photon Hypernova that rounds them out into like a full-on pure archetype, and then they become like legit terrifying. But they're still going to be good. You're going to see these splash kind of like Bisted. Small packages, but they're like really impactful. That they're good going first, good going second, you know, and they're just generic. So like, why not play them? Okay, so that's it for the new archetypes. There's only 2, for sure. Like, you know, so that's all we got. We'll take those, though. They are good. I hate it when we get new archetypes and they're just, like, god-awful. I know they can't all be bangers, but, like, I like them to at least be, like, rogue, respectable. You know what I mean? Okay, but moving into the archetypes. We're going to go mostly in order of, like, how many cards they're getting. Obviously, we have the cover card and archetype Blackwings. Really cool archetype, a big fan favorite, very combo heavy build. They get a lot of cool cards here that help them combo much more smoothly and consistently than they were before, with like hopefully less bricks needed. But I do think this is going to be one of those combo decks where it's like, sure, if they go wombo combo, they end on a really nasty board with a ton of interruptions. But it's going to be one of those combo decks that's probably a little more susceptible to hand traps than like most of the meta combo decks, and it maybe end on boards that like lose to certain board breakers a little bit more than other combo decks. So that's what you got to watch out for, but it is still cool. If you are a Blackwing player, you can still probably play it on the rogue level, and that's all we ask for, right? Next up, ninjas. Ninjas get a handful of cards here. Unfortunately, like, I'm a big ninja fan. Big ninja fan. I love the archetype. I would say like 3 or 4 of these cards are nice. The other 4 are like useless. Like I can't see myself ever wanting to play some of these cards in a legit ninja, like competitive ninja build if it ever got to that point. But the fusion's really cool. I think 2 of the monsters, main deck monsters, are pretty nice. I think the equip spell's cool, and the new trap is solid. I would say like those are the solid cards. The rest are like dead. Like, don't even look at me. They're poop. So cool, but I think this is a nice step in the right direction. They get a couple nice pieces here. They definitely need more, though. They still don't feel like a whole cohesive strategy all the way. They feel like they want to play some back row stuff, but they also want to do combo-y stuff. It just feels like the deck's being pulled in a couple different directions until they get maybe another solid wave of support to kind of like really push them in one direction wholly, or enough good support that you can kind of pick and choose which way is better. But yeah. But they're still like probably around the same tier they're at, to be honest. Not that much better. Draco Slayer. This stuff is legit. This stuff could be not only potential at highest potential top tier meta. The OCG, the Draco Slayer stuff has been performing really, really well. We'll see how it goes here. We do not have Electromite like they do, I believe. And we kind of need to figure out what we can do with the stuff, but these cards are insane. They get 3 new Pendulum monsters. They also get a new field spell that's really good in and of itself. They get the ability to search any generic field spell in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh, which is really cool. These guys, and they're super searchable. There are multiple search cards generically that like get access to these cards. It's really cool. So very excited to see. You guys know I like a couple of Pendulum decks. This could be one of them. Definitely going to mess around with this stuff and see what they can do. But yeah, we'll see. Next up, this is Vernisylph. Vernisylph gets their second wave here. Really solid wave, to be honest. I really like these. You have this guy, most notably. He searches any Earth Fairy, period. So not only just searching other Vernisylph cards, but potentially searching the Ishizu Fairy cards when those come out. Really, really nice. As well as for like a couple of random techs in with like stuff like Madolche. Some of the Madolche's best starter, at least I think it's Angeli's the main starter that is an Earth Fairy. This becomes another consistency piece to just search Angeli. It's pretty cool. So yeah, all in all, really, really sweet. I think the Vernisylphs also, because the Madolches play a bunch of bricks monster-wise in the deck, they just end up being fodder for Vernisylph cards, which is pretty cool. So yeah, really, really nice. They also get a new boss monster, a new field spell. I'm really excited to see what Earth Amalgamation. I think this is going to be the first set where we see like a rogue deck come out of here where whether it's Naturia, whether it's the other Earth stuff, we see some kind of like good Earth deck designed around the Vernisylphs actually come to fruition. Hopefully. Next up, speaking of which, Naturia. This deck is, I think, like a really cool rogue deck. If you have not read the cards and you love Naturia, please read them. This is like insane support. Mole Cricket's the main card here. He's insane. He's like a quick effect rescue cat to summon 1 or to potentially 2, depending on if your opponent has anything on the field. And he summons himself back to the field super, super easily, like every time your opponent goes into the extra deck. It's absolutely insane. He has follow-up in and of himself. He rotates you into more Naturia monsters over and over and over again, multiple even, continuously. Absolutely insane. This card is so cool. Also, they get another card that's like a Foolish Burial for our cards. You can send like the Trap to get a search, as well as a quick play spell that either lets you like quick fuse or quick synchro on the opponent, at any point into a Naturia card. It's really cool. So we're definitely excited to see what the Naturia cards can do post this, because they were so hyped when they originally came out so long ago, and they finally have like playable stuff. And they did it with 3 basic cards. So cool. The Vernisylphs could be here. As well as like the Ishizu Fairies could be relevant for an Naturia build as well, so keep that in mind. Prediction Princess. I'll be honest, this is like the support I know the absolute least about. I honestly probably would just guess that whether it's Mikanko or Drytron or like a Libromancer, this is probably just outclassed by all of those. If you're a big fan of ritual stuff, and you want to play competitively, I would probably recommend you go a different route for that. But if you love them, go ahead and go after them. I'm sure they can do some really cool stuff, but I just think the other ones are going to be probably more consistent, a little more powerful, and that's just how it works, I think. Okay, Sprites. Sprites get new support here. They get a new Link 2 and a Trap card. Trap's actually pretty good generically, but the Link 2 is really the big winner here. This card sends any generic level 2 from deck to grave. No restriction on that, like activating effects or anything. So even for something like Tier, being able to send Merly, being able to send any other level 2 just to get it in grave so that you can reborn stuff, really good as well. We're going to see it send like a Nimble Angler as well. It's going to be probably pretty popular when this card drops. It's pretty cool. It's also a compulse on field if you have another Exceed on the field. It's pretty cool. But yeah, really, really cool card. We're definitely going to see this be abused, not only in Sprite, but a couple of other decks generically as well. Has some restrictions on it, but it's going to be good. Trust me. Tier. Tier gets 4 whole cards here. Best deck in the game. 4 new cards of support. Great. They get a new boss fusion monster, and they get 3 new spells. They get like a continuous that gives them resources every turn. They get this card that's either like a Foolish Burial or summons a monster, any tier straight from the deck. Absolutely crazy. The support is insane. They're extenders, they're starters, they're really, really good. And the other one's like kind of a spell and trap removal card, but I don't expect it to be that good. Next up, we get 2 more adventure cards for that deck. I think Konami went the right direction here, though. These 2 cards are both geared towards like a very pure adventure deck that really has not done anything competitively, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you do really like them as a pure deck, these cards are pretty interesting, but I don't think they're really going to do enough competitively to be a pure deck until we get like more support down the line. Next up, for hires, we get a new main deck monster and a new Link 2, I believe. This new monster actually searches you for higher spells and traps, which is really cool. And I don't remember exactly what the Link 2 does, but I think it's like an okay card. I don't remember it being like crazy, but this card's the main one. Like, cool, adds more consistency, gives them another search throughout some of their combos. It's cool. It's definitely like solid. For hire, still not great, but like they feel like Blackwings. Like they have very, very clear, brutal choke points at times, but you know, if they pop off, they can definitely do some pretty powerful things. Next up, Labyrinth. They get 1 card here. It's just this boss monster, but man, this card is such a house for the deck. I will be playing this deck at least a little bit here. Very excited to actually make use of this card. It's huge. It gets you any trap card straight from the deck, and it's annoying to get off the field, and it's very easy to get on the field. So very, very cool card. Runic gets a new fusion monster. I think the main things to note about this guy, he is 2,000 attack. So he actually, if you do go a cycle without using your runic spells, he does actually have enough attack to actually like start applying pressure to your opponent's life points in runic. Whereas like all the other fusions are like super tiny. They don't really do anything to them. So yeah. He also can add like a quick play spell from grave back to hand if he's destroyed. Fine, but like you kind of have to wait for your opponent to do that, so it's like meh. He's fine. He's level 5. That could come up for like a synchro build as well. Next up, this is I think a card that counts. It's like a Springin support card, but it does not have Springin in the name, unfortunately. It does have Albaz in its text, so it is searchable off of like that 1 normal summon card. But like I don't know if this card's worth. It summons like a Springin on end phase straight from the deck, which is solid, but it's on end phase, so it's slow. And it gives you like protection on some of your other stuff, which is like okay, but like it's just protection. Like protection in Yu-Gi-Oh! In modern day, like it kind of needs to be like a bonus effect. Can't be your main effect. So I don't know. This card's okay, but it's not as searchable as you'd want it to be. We also have a card that is technically Tri-Brigade support, but again, it kind of falls short. It has like a battle phase effect and something else that's like mediocre. Oh, it has like a recursion effect and a battle phase effect. It's just not good enough, all things considered. Then you have this girl. She's pretty interesting. Now, she does list Albaz in her text as well. I don't know how searchable that makes her because she's a monster. Usually we see cards search spells and traps, but I think she's probably searchable some way. She's pretty interesting. I'd give her a read over. She kind of has like multiple effects. She is interesting. I just don't know how accessible she's going to be. If she was like, oh, we could get her access to her super easy, that's awesome, then I think I remember her reading like a pretty cool card, but not as searchable as you want her to be, so it's kind of tough. Scareclaw. Scareclaw gets 2 more cards. They get I think a spell, but I don't think the spell is actually that good, but they do get this card, and this is finally a legit awesome trap payoff for the deck. This card is kind of just like a Icarus attack for Scareclaw. Tribute a Scareclaw monster, target 2 cards on the field, destroy him. I think it also has like a bonus effect if you have Visas Starfrost on the field, but you know, that the bare minimum is at least getting that double pop. It's a pretty cool card. It actually feels like a legit solid search payoff interruption-wise for a deck that could kind of get into an engine and do a little combo, but a lot of times, unless you opened like multiple cards that like work together, you weren't ending on like really that much interruption at all. But finally getting a payoff there is pretty dang sweet. Valence. Valence get a new spell card. This card really ties that whole engine together really nicely. Really happy this actually happened for that deck. Maybe we'll see some like spicy build also with like the Draco Slayer cards. Maybe there's something there. I don't know, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. This card's technically a Subterror card, but this card stinks. It's unsearchable for the Subterror archetype, and all it is like protection. Sorry, I don't care. I don't care about protection at all. Okay, so now we get to some interesting generic cards. This is Soul Scissors, I believe. I think if any card on your field is like destroyed, this comes back and then it like pops a card on your opponent's field, which is pretty cool. So I think if you play like Live Twins, you could like pop your own card or something, like pop your own Scythe to then Scythe Lock and then still use this engrave if you got it set up to come back. It's a really interesting card. I think it's like could be one of those targets that you summon off of like Gigantic Sprite just to get him into rotation and engrave, so that way your opponent gets punished if they ever destroy anything on your field, which is pretty cool. So I don't know, cool card. This card is kind of like a Floodgate Outer. It outs like a a face-up spell or trap, I think. It's not good. This card, it bounces it, and he has to like tribute a Winged Beast, which is usually just going to be himself. So he's like, has to clear himself off the field to then bounce a Floodgate that your opponent can just put back on the field next turn if you don't have a way to like contend it immediately. I don't know. This card just seems pretty whack overall. Still loses to Mystic Mind too, so like whatever. This card's pretty interesting. It gives you the ability. It is a new like bamboo card. This maybe should have been thrown in the archetype card instead of the generic section, but you know it's interesting. I don't know. We still have Isolde running around in the TCG. We still have Infernobles with a handful of cards. Like maybe there's a way Bamboos as a draw engine like actually comes back and maybe has like a little bit of playability there, but we'll have to see. Trap card. This card's pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of Warning Point, a trap card that came out. Didn't seem like a terrible trap card, just wasn't strong enough to actually see generic play in the TCG. This card kind of is the same, but the main difference is, and especially with, even more so with like Dimensional Barrier. Dimensional Barrier locks your opponent from summoning that mechanic whatsoever, but Barrier's so old, it didn't have Link in its text. You couldn't lock your opponent out of Links, which is a big weakness at times. This card can lock your opponent out of Links. That's the main difference. So, if there is big Link matchups in the game, this could be a card that actually could be a little more useful than Dimensional Barrier. I think in most scenarios, Barrier is going to be better, but in that kind of metagame, this card could be actually better. So, I'll keep an eye on it. This is a card that helps you do a quick ritual on the opponent's turn, but it does take a little bit of setup to kind of get ready for it. You need the right cards in hand. So it's fine. I just think we have so much good ritual support. I don't know if this card's really pushing the envelope there, and I don't think this card's super searchable or anything. So, yeah, fine. Then we get to like the good generic cards. These are the bangers. This card is crazy. It is a tuner synchro. So it is I was going to say Halki Fibrax target, but also as a Link climb target generically, not even talking about Halk. You could make this, use it to synchro up, and then this card actually revives itself by banishing another synchro from your grave, and it has the quick synchro effect on the opponent's turn. So like you use it to synchro climb up turn 1, bring it back still on your opponent's turn, or on your turn 1, and then on your opponent's turn, it lets you do another quick synchro on the opponent's turn once you get your board set up. It's pretty cool. I think it's a good card overall. If Hulk ever comes back, this card becomes a lot more relevant. This card's a little less relevant with Hulk gone, but still a good card generically, no matter what. Mirio Logic Aggregator, I think is the OCG name for this card. This card's crazy. I know the main thing with this card is going to be that he is a generic send target from the extract. So whether it's Dogmatic Punishment or the new our Ultimate Slayer card, anything like that, or not Diviner of the Hero because that's Send a Fairy, but stuff like that. He targets any face-up card on the field and negates it till the end of the turn when he's sent. It's pretty cool. If you don't want to pop, but you want a negation instead, cool alternate there. He's also a generic rank 9 that I believe gives you extra ability to send other cards from your extra deck as well. So he's a cool card. I think he'll come up somewhere, somehow. Maybe not immediately, but sometime he will. This guy is crazy. So he's a rank 6, completely generic. He has a quick effect to either target a card in your opponent's grave and detach 1 material to shuffle it into the deck, or detach 2 materials to just take that card and either set it to your field if it's like a spell or trap, or like summon a monster, no effects negate or anything, or even set that monster if you want. A really, really cool card. If we have decks, I mean, the Bistad engine kind of supports 6s pretty easily, so maybe we could see this card see play right out the gate. It's pretty crazy. You take generic cards from your opponent in a mirror match, take cards that just help your engine. Could be pretty crazy. I don't know. This card's really interesting. It also has like it also buffs himself like a lot. You know, with a cool like continuous effect. It's pretty crazy. Link 2, Muckraker. This is a really, really, really good Fiend support card. It pretty much just pitches a card to revive a Fiend. No restriction. Level, rank, link, anything. You can revive any Fiend from grave as long as it's a legal target. Doesn't negate it or anything. Really good for any deck that is based around Fiends. I'm definitely excited for this. I think this is like Dark World support, Lair of Darkness support, Burning Abyss support, Labyrinth support. Any of those, like Unchained will probably like find a way to like toss this card in because it gives them an easier way to like get Unchained Abomination from grave, the dog, the brick, out of the hand because it discards it, but also get it back onto the field, which is pretty cool. Very, very nice card. And then the last card here is the Link 4. This card's crazy. I don't know exactly how this card's going to come up or if it's going to come up immediately, but I do believe this card will come up down the line some way, somehow. He takes like any, whatever. He can take a Link 4 for his entire material. So essentially, the way you got to look at this card is he's not just a Link 4. He essentially just add whatever he is onto any Link 4 you can already imagine. If you make an Appaloosa and you use all of Appaloosa's negates, you can then just throw this card on top of Appaloosa, and now Appaloosa does what this card does, and I think he just banishes the whole field, and then he summons everything, like all in one effect, like banishes the whole field monster-wise, and then summons all those monsters back. So anything that would trigger when it's summoned that hasn't already, and it's not a once per turn or whatever, that can trigger, will trigger again. Anything that like has an effect that like would reset because it lost the field will reset. I really think there will be some stupid degenerate things that come from this card. I just don't know what they are yet, and maybe it's just further down the line. But really, really powerful, terrifying card. The only deck I can think of off the top of my head right now that can abuse this, maybe just Marine Cess, just because they already make a Water Link 4 anyway. So this card's probably pretty easy for them to abuse, but you know, we'll see. Again, I think it might be a little bit just because we don't have any decks that like really pump out Link 4s like that right now. Like obviously not Sprites, and Tears can, but it's like, is it worth it? Like what scenarios are you using it for that like are really coming up? It just may take us like a little bit of a developed metagame down the line, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that's literally everything that is out so far. We know we're going to get the final reveals at the end of next week, so stay tuned to the channel for those. I will obviously bring you news and reviews and all that stuff as it comes. We can talk about that individually. But as far as the main part of the set, the 80 main cards, this is everything you pretty much need to know about Darkwing Blast. I do think it's a good set. I think it's probably a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Just slightly worse than Power of the Elements. Like I said, I think Power of the Elements really sets the tone for this as we go through these formats, but I think these other sets are like kind of latching on and adding their own stuff as well. You know, enough. I'll take it. I think it's going to be a different enough format where it'll be pretty fun. But yeah, that's everything for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. You want to see more stuff from your boy down the line. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.